You're trying to create content, you're trying to send emails, you're posting on LinkedIn, maybe you're doing a newsletter, you're sharing updates, but like most of it gets ignored because it's generic and predictable.
You got to be willing to step out there, share what's going on authentically in your life.
Welcome everybody to our third podcast here for Marketing Mind Fuel. Andrew, welcome. My name is Bjorn Piltingsrud. I am the VP of Strategy and Business Development here at Essential Engine. Andrew, go ahead and reintroduce yourself for the thousands of people who are joining now on our third episode.
I thought it was millions, Bjorn, but fine. We'll take the thousands. I'm Andrew Saksa, VP Strategic Channels with Essential Engine.
Awesome. Well, today's episode is going to be all about why most marketing gets ignored. And at the end of the day, like, it's true, most marketing does get ignored, and you gotta like cut through the clutter, because most professionals you're trying to create content, you're trying to send emails, you're posting on LinkedIn, maybe you're doing a newsletter, you're sharing updates, but like most of it gets ignored because it's generic and predictable. And to be honest with you, it's also often have like just sales material. Like, I would say one thing just out of the chute, if you are not connected to Andrew Saksa on LinkedIn, he is really, really good on LinkedIn. So if you're looking for a model citizen, a model person on LinkedIn of how to post, I think that Andrew is your guy. So Andrew, you do an incredible job. But like at the end of the day, why does your LinkedIn account generate so much engagement and so much activity? For me, right? And I'm not as prolific. I'm not anywhere near as prolific on LinkedIn as you are. But like, I think the reason that your stuff resonates with people is because, number one, it's entertaining. So there's an entertainment aspect of it, right? Number two, it's informative. It's not just entertaining, it's informative. And number three, it adds some value, right? It adds value in terms of like what's going on. You don't use a bunch of industry jargon. It's not you run your posts by our marketing department or our HR department. You do your posts, right? And so they're not like corporate sounding. That's just my perspective. What's the process that you use for when you're building out your posts on LinkedIn as an example?
So Bjorn, thank you so much, man. I work hard at it, right? Holy smokes. You see me, I'm working around the clock on this stuff. But the reason why I think I'm successful on LinkedIn, and it's funny how some things absolutely resonate and other things are okay, right? Like I'll have 100 or 200 people, make some type of comment or do something. But the ones that really hit are just exactly what you talked about, when I'm being my true, authentic self. And it's the same thing with marketing, but I'll give the best recent example. So holy smokes, right before I was getting ready to go to a big conference, right? I'm a panelist for AmeriLife, Lead Star, talking to all their top IMOs about marketing. I mean, big moment in time. And that week, actually just a few days before I'm actually supposed to go to Tampa for this big panel discussion and everything else, I lose my voice. I lose my voice completely. In fact, Bjorn, thank God you were able to jump in.
I think I jumped in and I did one of your webinars, right?
Holy smokes, man. If you hadn't jumped in, that would have been a complete disaster. And what happened was, I was actually put in the hospital, just so you guys know. So I was in the hospital. And of course, I had to do something fun when they put a mask on your face, right? Because you're breathing oxygen or whatever it is to try and get over this thing. So what did I do? What are the first two things that come in my mind? Darth Vader, right? Because you sound like Darth Vader when you're trying to talk to the doctor. And then the other thing that came in my mind was the fighter jets of Mission. What was
Top
it?
Gun.
Top Gun. Thank you. I was going to Mission Impossible. I knew it was Tom Cruise movie. But anyway, so I make that AI version of, the face mask. And lo and behold, what was like 2,000 reactions and so many people with, hey, I hope you feel better and everything else. But it just comes back to what you have to say. You got to be willing to step out there, share what's going on authentically in your life. And those are the posts every single time, whether it was when I made the brilliant decision to come on board with you, the reactions that came on board, came out of that post, or just, the big moments in our life. So I always encourage that folks that are paying attention to this, whether you're posting on social media, whether you're posting on LinkedIn, whatever the platform happens to be, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, make sure that at least 80% of the things that you post are about you being authentic. What's going on in your life, your family, stuff like that. Because I'll tell you guys, that's the magic secret formula. And then when you bring in 20% about what's going on with your business, people are excited to read that and they look forward to that. And so, that's kind of the key of this. My strategy is just being authentic with it.
I think so many people actually have that equation flipped, Andrew. I think so many people, want to talk about the thing that excites them, and the thing that excites them when they're posting for business is making the next sale or getting that new client or whatever, right? And so the natural inclination, right, is to just be constantly posting about your expertise, or not even your expertise, but a transaction opportunity, or this new opportunity about whether it's a house that's for sale or whether it's a house that just sold, right? Because that's what, as a real estate professional, that's what you're interested in, right? Is real estate. If you're a financial professional, you're interested in asset allocations or a new fund or a new strategy to achieve some savings objective or distribution objective. Or if you're an insurance agent, maybe it's a policy change or it's a new policy strategy or something like that. And there's definitely room for that. But if that's all you're posting every time, that's when people tune out, right? That's when people
100%.
start to tune out. We had done a webinar on the 5-star side of the business, regarding how often should you post content, or how often should you give out content. And my reaction, right, was, think about it from your favorite television show or your favorite podcast or your favorite YouTuber or whatever. If my favorite TV show had a new episode every day, I'd watch it because I love the content, because I work by. But if my favorite TV show had one good episode and then had 4 dud episodes, because all they were trying to do is just get me to watch 4 more episodes in a week, and they were just totally mailed in, no plot or anything, I'm not going to watch that. Then I'm going to start to tune it out, right? And it becomes so. The other thing I think that happens is that from whether it's an email campaign or whether it's a social media post or whether it's updating your website or doing a podcast or whatever, if you don't have something genuine to say, don't do it, right? It's not necessarily about volume of posts or volume of emails. It's oftentimes more about, is the email of value? Does it have anything in there of value? And what's valuable to you as the service professional may not necessarily be what's of value to the client who you're trying to reach, right? And so that 80-20 rule, I think, is just a really interesting way of flipping the way I think most people think about their marketing, right? And I think that's why people start to tune out. I know I'm not an unsubscriber. Do you unsubscribe from emails, from email lists? Do you unsubscribe, or are you a deleter?
Once in a while, not often.
I'm a deleter, right? I just my inbox gets full. I get it. And I just the end of the night, I'm delete, and right. I think the other thing that to stand out, obviously understanding subject lines in emails, that's such a, even more than the content, right? That sometimes is in the email, that subject line is that hook. You have seconds to make a decision. Or if you're scrolling on Facebook or you're scrolling on LinkedIn, you have seconds, right, to get someone to make a decision to stop and view that post or view that email.
Yeah, even bigger than that, right? Just to expand that thought. But you are 100% right. We should probably do a podcast all about how do you create the most effective emails to really grab your folks, because there's some incredible people that have written some brilliant stuff about that. But I would even take it and expand it, right? A lot of folks that are listening to this podcast stand up on stage, right? They do T65 events if they're an insurance agent, or let's face it, you're going to do a listing appointment for a house if you're a real estate agent, or if you're a financial advisor and you have somebody come into your office for the very first time. Guys, how long do you think it takes for somebody to make an impression with you on whether or not they're going to do business with you? Wow. It's seconds.
Seconds. Mm-hmm.
Seconds. And guess what? You never get a chance to have that first impression ever again. So, man, I would tell you, dress for the occasion, right? Make sure you've got fresh breath, right? I mean, all the basics that you want to have. Don't skip a step. If you just had a tuna fish with extra onion sandwich and you've got an appointment that's walking into your office, for the love of God, please go do something to brush your teeth or, take a fresh mint, do something, because honestly, if you blow that first impression, it's over. And that's the same for a podcast, right? I mean, guys, we want you guys to feel engaged with this, feel like we're giving you proper content. And if we don't, there's a good chance you guys are going to move on to one of the other 8 billion podcasts that are out there. And we love our million users, so we want to keep you guys tuned in.
So how do you think you stop sounding like everybody else who's out there, right? Because then it's because you're in this vast forest of clients who are out there, and then there's all these other service professionals who are doing postings, they're sending out emails. So how do you actually shift from sounding like everybody else to someone who actually feels human and authentic? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So things that come to mind, right, is do you post how you speak? At the end of the, does it look like it's coming from you? Are you using British English, or are you using, you know what I'm saying? I just think sometimes it's you find something cool and you're like, oh, I'm just going to use that. I'm going to repost this thing, or I'm going to take that and I'm going to post it. And it's that doesn't even sound like anything. Doesn't even sound like you.
So, man, that is itself another just amazing topic, right? Across the board, because everybody's so in tune with AI, or at least most of us are, that we are all starting to rely on AI to help us with our emails, right? When I'm going to send an email, I do rely on AI a little bit to make sure that it's proper grammar and everything is correct. But at the end of the day, it's got to sound like me, or people recognize it. Bjorn, you're fantastic about the fact that you'll catch one of my AI emails and say, "Hey, man, let me point out a couple things why this email is not sounding at all like you and sounding like it's a robot." So, yeah, I think, and it's another thing that I've noticed recently too, is the response to people when I just write an email from me, as opposed to the response that I get when I use AI to cheat, right? I mean, let's face it, it really is kind of cheating a little bit. So it's better. It's just better. And if I made the grammatical error or something else, it's overlooked because of the fact that they appreciate the fact that I'm actually taking that time to, same thing with a handwritten note, right? You can, if you write somebody a thank you in a handwritten note and you actually do it, right? You're not just using a service, although that's great too. I think you should do everything. But man, the response you get from the handwritten note in your handwriting, which in my case is terrible, right, is still better than the response I get when I use a service.
For sure. For sure. I think another way you could stand out from the competition and not sound like everybody else is to use use a specific client question or a specific client example, right, as a way of giving more specific, pointed information and value. So like I know that a lot of people take, you know, what if in real estate, maybe it's an MLS report, right, on the market, and they just repost that. Like what everybody reposts that. But if you take that MLS report and you frame it in a way that is something relatable to a recent client experience or a recent client question, right? That immediately, that small thing takes it from being like something that you're going to find on 17,000 other emails that went out from other real estate agents that day to something that looks and is actually more personable, more human, more relatable. And like you can go through from real estate to financial and say like, you know, whether it's a market recap or the, you know, the quarter recap that I know a lot of the large firms do, which is good information, but don't just use that information and be like, okay, well, that's it, I'm just going to send that out and call it a day. Even just adding something that talks about a conversation you had with another client about whatever had happened in the prior quarter, it brings that market synopsis down to a personal level. And I think that's where a lot of people start sounding like everybody else, because they're just taking canned information, right? Canned stuff, and throwing that out there. And it doesn't mean that every post has to have that, but like you said, 80%, you got to get that personal side of it to make it stand out. So that's just another example. Like I think I had heard, like, you know, from a financial perspective, or from a Medicare perspective, right, an insurance perspective, is like, now's a great time to do a plan review, to do a review of your plan. It's like, well, yeah, there's every year there's a time to do the plan review, right? I mean, that's the whole point of AEP or OEP. And like at the end of the day, it's like, can you make that sound better? Can you talk about, like, you know, now is the time to be thinking about your plan before, you know, you break a leg, or before you have to go in and do something else. Like that just to me is like, it helps to bring it from just this overall like OEP, time to do your plan review, to something that's more personable. So that's just, I think that's a way to do that. So how about, have you Andrew, do you use any questions that you get? Do you like repeat questions from your clients and prospects as a way of like giving additional advice in any of your LinkedIn posts that you do?
Yeah, one of the tricks of the trade or hacks is always put something that is an open-ended question that really does have people. It literally, as opposed to people just putting a thumbs up or a like, right? You want more engagement. You got to drop in some type of open question. And then I'll even take it one step further. So if you want to build a tribe on social media, another great hack is every morning pick 5 people randomly and ask them an open question on their post. So the reason why you want to do that is, again, this is an algorithm, obviously, that you're trying to trick. And as soon as they respond to you, not only are you building that tribe with them, but then that algorithm is saying, oh, okay, these guys know each other. Who else is in this circle that they should also know amongst themselves? So now you're actually using the algorithm against itself to actually help you create that tribe, which is so important. So, you know, again, what are you doing consistently every day? You know, what are the steps you're doing? You know, not everybody feels like posting. Man, not everybody feels like posting every single day. I get it. I 100% get it. But you have to do it, right? I don't want to go to the gym every single day. I got to do it, right? I don't have a choice. So if you can do that stuff and be more consistent and just use some of those little tricks or hacks, whatever you want to call it, to start building that tribe. Bjorn, I'll tell you another thing that is so important to me about what we always recommend with our magazines is the fact that people should put their face on the cover of the magazine, and they don't want to do it for whatever reason. I think that's crazy. If you're truly trying to be authentic, you got to put your face on the cover of the magazine. It's the one thing that will guarantee the magazine makes it from the mailbox, past the trash can, get you up on the coffee table.
It's interesting on like, your face does make it more personable, right? At the end of the day, like that personal connection, it does make it even if you're doing, a just listed, or you're doing an asset allocation review or what have you, or a financial review, like just having your face on that post, or having your face on that, it immediately helps the client make that connection back to where like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this isn't just a generic, opening that this person's trying to get me to do another transaction or what have you. So what could you give? What's one tip? If you could give one tip on how you can, simple way to make your content more personable. Talked about a picture, talked about an open-ended question, any other specific thing that you could do to make it more personal that you've come across, Andrew? I'm putting you on the spot, so.
Yeah, no, please always put me on the spot, man. I love this business. I love helping advisors, agents, and real estate professionals grow their practice. And these are the key tactics that people need to take away. Number one, get your face on the cover of a magazine or something that really does matter. That is what makes you authentic. The other thing that I would highly recommend is, let's face it, if you have a family, wonderful family, a pet, you're going on vacation, something along those lines, share that stuff. Guys, I'm telling you, that is if there is one thing, talk about me being in a hospital and how many people, reacted to that. You really want to get a big reaction? Take your pet, put them on the cover of the magazine or whatever, bring them to the office, get a picture of you guys together, throw that stuff on social media. You'll be shocked at what type of reaction that gets. People don't give it enough credit. But man, if there's one thing I would tell you, start with a pet or a kid or a vacation. Man, those things will get big reactions. I promise.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned consistency, right? And that consistency builds familiarity, and then familiarity increases trust, right? So like, I think that consistency in how you're showing up with relevant posts builds on the marketing success formula of Essential Engine, which is that authority plus authenticity equals trust, right?
We got there. We finally got there.
I gave it up. I wasn't going to hold it off any longer. That's the Essential Engine marketing success formula. We probably should have warned people to write that down. I'll say it one more time in case anyone didn't hear it. So our marketing success formula is authenticity plus authority equals trust, right? And part of authenticity and authority, honestly, is consistency. We talked about that familiarity. The consistency doesn't always have to be about the subject matter, right? It's just being there in the inbox, in the mailbox, being in the social media feed. But if you're only if you're only communicating transaction level ideas or a transaction level content, people are going to see through that really fast. Yep. And it's going to become self-serving, and that's when people will start to tune out. So I think that's, from my perspective, those are a couple of easy things that you can do. So, Andrew, I think we're close to the time where we might do your 70 seconds of selling. This is an ongoing segment that we have here at the end of our podcast, or towards the end of our podcast. So I'm gonna throw it over to you and see if you can get your 70 seconds of selling in 70 seconds. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Awesome. So I wrote this down because I thought it was so important. Technology can create reach, but relationships create revenue.
Say it one more time.
Yeah, I just thought it was such a great thing. Technology can create reach, but relationships create revenue. So when you think about that for just 1 second, what are you doing today to be authentic with your marketing. Talked about putting your face on the cover of a magazine. We talked about sharing things that are important to you. If you want to truly watch your business grow, let's find a way for you today to connect with your client in a way that does create that authentic relationship to help you grow your client base. So I'm just going to say this. I challenge everybody that's on this right now to close this out. What is one thing you can do today with one of your clients to learn a little bit more about them, to create that relationship, to help you guys increase your revenue? That's what I got today.
That's awesome. I love that. Like the technology, say the first part one more time. The technology
can create reach, right? So we can use AI and all these other tools to be able to create reach, but relationships create revenue.
Yeah. So coming back to the marketing success formula at Essential Engine, that relationships create revenue. So to create relationships, you got to have trust, right? And that's where we say trust is built on that authority and that authenticity. So you can see how like it all builds on itself. The authority, the authenticity equaling trust, deeper relationships, generating revenue. I think those are all the key points there. So thanks. I think you kept it under 70 seconds.
I tried.
A couple of closing items. We always have to end with a little bit of compliance disclaimer, right? We've talked about some ideas, things that you can do. Always make sure that whenever you're going to do something, you run it by your compliance or ad review department. Don't just run it by them. Actually, probably get them to approve it for sure. Don't do something that's going to get you into trouble. So they're there to help you. So we always encourage you to do that. The second thing we always say, right, is take an action, right? We're both Tony Robbins fans here, and we'd love to have Tony on the show at some point. If anyone knows Tony and they can reach out to Tony and see if he wants to be on the Marketing Mind Fuel podcast, that would be awesome. But Tony Robbins talks about taking action, right? Taking action to make your business better. Whether you're taking an action with us or you're taking action with someone else, that's totally fine. But do take an action. Hopefully we gave you a couple of positive key nuggets of things that you can do today, tomorrow, but today, take an action to improve your marketing and stand out from the competition through that. With that, Andrew, any parting comments before we wrap up today's episode?
No, just again, really excited to help folks grow their business. Please share our podcast with everybody. Again, we're trying to get to 10 million users, so we're a little ways away. And Tony, if you're listening, come on our podcast.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. We will see you on the next episode, which should be dropping shortly. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Bjorn. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Marketing Mind Fuel. Hit follow so you never miss a conversation built to help you propel your relationships, your authority, and your long-term business growth. To learn more about 5-Star Professional and Essential Engine, visit essentialengine.com. Connect with Bjorn and Andrew on LinkedIn for more relationship-driven marketing insights. Until next time, stay connected, stay visible, and keep building trust. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional before making a decision.